Fausty one.
Yo.
I think there needs to be a new title because it's a question that I would expect more people to ask, but not that many people have asked it. I believe only one person at a Chintzy Psychic Fair once upon a time. And that's all about the Supreme. From American Horror Story, innit?
Yeah, the Supreme.
Is there such a thing in your real life?
Well, that suggests that there is. It's a coven thing, though, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
It's. I feel like it's slightly stolen from Roald Dahl's Witches.
Grand High Witch.
Grand High Witch. That's kind of redone in a feminist way, is what I want to say. But whether or not that's true is a different matter.
So you saying no Supreme?
No Supreme. No. There's a few goddesses around.
Because I happened across a website that was an American witchcraft store, and the owner of the store was claiming to be a Supreme.
Okay.
So are you saying that that's not right?
Well, I doubt. She was probably Wiccan for starters.
Is it he? And I believe he was.
She sounds like I'm going to keep. I'm staying with the pronoun she.
Well, he was a gay, or I should
See?
say, he's still alive. So
There you go. Does that mean I've already
stuff like that?
Does that mean I've passed one of the tests already? Because I knew that.
But there are tests to become a Supreme, aren't there? 7 wonders, in fact.
So did I just pass one already? Because I knew to keep with the she.
Let me have a look. Is one of them? No, they might include an 8th wonder, which would be something to do with pronouns, maybe.
No, one of them's divination, isn't it?
One of them's divination, yeah.
And I knew that without having to pull any cards.
I think you're both Supreme. Oh, isn't that sweet? Okay. Leadership, essentially, is what it's all about. So there's this thing called American Horror Story, which is quite good. Well, the first one's not. The first one's shit. But it does get consistently better. And then there's a series with witches in it called Coven. And then there's another series with witches in it, which is the same witches, just a little bit further along the timeline, called Apocalypse. That was my favorite one. I like the Apocalypse one. In the Coven of Witches, they have what they're supposed to have is the leader is called a Supreme, right? So it's essentially the leader. So they obviously have tests to prove their worth, to prove themselves as a leader. My question to you, Chris, is of all of the magical people that run groups and such, are you aware of any tests or anything like that where they have to prove their worth? How does one prove their worth to people that want to join a group?
I don't know. I've never known, because normally we're talking about the person that starts the group.
Well, inheritance really is what it is in American Horror Story, because you're inheriting. So the group already exists, but they're essentially picking a new leader. So from the perspective of if you start up a group, what is that, cult of personality? But when there's infighting within a group, like who did they choose to lead Scientology when L. Ron Hubbard died? There was some sort of test, surely.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Wasn't involved.
If you had a group that you started up, I know you don't want to, but imagine you did. What tests would you introduce as the founder of a coven or tradition or something? What tests would you introduce?
Total wipeout.
Total wipeout. What does that mean? Is that like Ninja Warrior UK or something?
Well, it was before. It was long before Ninja Warrior UK. Total Wipeout's been around for like 20 years or so.
So it's an obstacle course. That's what you're proposing, an obstacle course.
Yeah.
Right.
It's better than Total Ninja.
I was expecting there to be some sort of profound, well thought out answer to that. I should know better, really, shouldn't I?
Well, they do say ask stupid questions.
I didn't think it was a stupid question. I thought it would be interesting. I thought you'd come out with something like the Seven Wonders, but clearly not.
No. Mainly because I think the qualities I need aren't necessarily I've been a leader too long, and therefore I'm of the feeling you plan and create your successor rather than picking one out of a crowd, which is what the Seven Wonders
prove their worth, isn't it? For the rest of the crowd,
yeah.
They prove their worth. So it can't be a case of King's Golden Touch, I nominate you. It has to be, look, there's evidence, there's proof, like a prophecy or something like that.
But we both know I don't operate that way. So there wouldn't be. It would be, I have elected this individual as my successor.
You'd be like a crazy old grandmother that's cutting her kids out of the will and various grandkids to be left with her favourite.
Yeah.
That's what it would be like, would it?
Well, that's how I do most things. You plan and train to make sure that you have the best possible candidate. But don't leave it to chance.
So you would groom them over the course of many years and then say, look, it's your turn.
I'm retiring now.
I'm about enough to retire.
Yeah.
I'm going to breed rare sheep in the middle of nowhere. Now it's up to you to lead this pack of mutts.
Exactly.
So would you retire, or would it be like a pope kind of thing where they're supposed to serve till they die? Although some popes do retire, so that kind of fucks that up, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they've only just started retiring.
Would you retire, or would you serve till death?
I'd probably retire if I was setting something like that up. The only problem is I wouldn't want it to happen like it does to the Supremes. The second that you hand the torch over, you fade away.
Yeah, you're dead.
I'm not having this transmutation of power in that way.
Well, you wane, don't you? You wane, which you'll wane as you get older anyway, because that's what happens.
I will not.
Old, isn't it? Well, that's what happens when you get old.
I will not.
When your successor comes, your strength and vitality withers away.
It does not.
Well, that's why you got to kill your successor, haven't you?
Hey, that's only how one person deals with it.
So you wouldn't deal with it like Fiona then?
No, I'm not a Fiona.
Oh. How would you deal with it? Just
not allow the transfer.
Okay.
You want to get as powerful as me, then you fucking do the work. Not having this instant transformation.
These people that you said, these apprentices you said you were grooming to take over your place, really what that means is you're trying to stunt their growth.
No. What I'm saying is
level Illuminati shit, that is.
That's not what I said at all, Liam. What I said was that they would get to the point where they were as powerful as me, not taking my power.
There would be some sort of Tri-Wizard Cup showdown. Are you going on the obstacle course? Are you going to set the time that they've got them beat?
Maybe.
That would be hilarious, wouldn't it?
I'd totally be up for total wipeout.
You as a 70-year-old biddy running some sort of magical obstacle course, it probably wouldn't take much to beat you.
That you say this.
So on this magical obstacle course, can we have 7 obstacles, therefore 7 wonders?
No.
No? How many is there going to be? How many obstacles on the obstacle course?
I would probably have 3 great tests, like 3 quests.
3?
Yeah.
Oh well, there we go. That's easier already. You've only got.
Not a big fan of the 7. I feel like whenever they make 7, there's always 5 good ones and 2 shit ones, because I feel like they run out of gumption or whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's just the budget they run out of. They run out of the budget for the CGI and that, don't they?
No, they're just run out of ideas because they feel like 7 is a magical number, so I must have
Well, it
7.
is a magical number. 7 planetary mysteries.
So no,
Right,
three,
seven
three is
wonders.
fine.
So we'll go through the 7 wonders from American Horror Story, which if you show that you can do the seven wonders, apparently that means that you get a promotion or something, and you'll make like Witch Queen / Supreme, or at the very least you'll go on some witches council or some shit like that, apparently, from what I can tell from the franchise. So the first one is telekinesis. Do you know what that means? What that is in plain English? What's telekinesis?
Moving shit with your mind.
Is the ability to move objects with one's mind. No touch.
No touchy.
No touching. Would that feature on your obstacle course?
What? No touchy?
Yeah.
They don't expect to get to the top without trying, do they?
Well, no. Do they not have to like levitate something or I don't
Nah,
know?
that's
No,
too
that's
basic
not,
shit. Not
that's not
interested.
in your hunt for a supreme. Chris's is like The Apprentice. Chris's hunt for the supreme continues.
Nah.
We still got to make a theme shoot for that.
Telekinesis is too much of a sideshow business. Party trick. Not interested in that.
Okay, what about concilium? One of my favourites. Concilium. Do you know what that is?
I can't remember what that one has.
Mind control.
Oh.
I mean, if you are going to be the next cult leader, one needs to be good at mind control.
But I don't know about you. With the mind control, surely you should have mastered that before you got out of beginner's class, right? Mind control is one of the things we would put on beginner's class.
Yeah, but would you not be expected to kind of prove that you're good at mind control? You might say it's beginner's class, but you can't say, oh, we're so beginner that we won't even get you to prove it. We'll just accept that you've already got it.
Well, no, because you go for something above that, don't you? To make sure that they're capable of doing it.
Okay, so what's above mind control in terms of mind-related things and such?
Wow. What would you put there?
I don't know. I mean, there's
Since you
various
like the word so
of mind
much.
control, so I don't know, because it could be a case of, okay, so how about this in terms of high-level mind control? You need to force the previous Supreme to jump off of a cliff, like in that film Midsummer. That makes sense, because if you're more powerful than the old Supreme, then you using your mind control on them to jump off of a cliff or something, like in Midsummer. I wish I could use the clip, but we keep getting told off for copyright infringement, so I can't. What about that? Is that not high level, Chris? If someone made you do something with the power of their mind?
I don't think that's. I wouldn't be there to do the rest of the test if we did that, would I? So that's a really bad idea.
It doesn't need to be the first one. That could be the last one.
The last one is me opting to be murdered. I don't think so.
Well, actually, it does make sense because guess what, right? If you've got one concilium, then there's other ones on there, such as a vitalis vitalium, which is the act of balancing forces. So they could kill you using mind control, but then they could go down to the underworld, because that's one of them, and visit you, and then another one would be bring you back to life. I mean, that's free. Kill someone, go and visit them in the underworld, and bring them back to life. That's highish level magic. No? Is that not your free? What would you prefer as free tests?
I'm not sure. I'm genuinely not sure. You do this to me. You don't tell me that this is what the subject is, and then I just come here rude, ready to go.
Well, this has been posted 3 or so hours ago, so you've had 3 hours to think about it. Plus, divination.
I don't think so, I've been working.
Divination, you did say, is extremely simple, and it does make the list. So why not use your supreme divination?
But why should I look for something you could just tell me?
Because you didn't ask.
Oh, okay.
I mean, talking about it, this has been on the list to be done since what? January? I think we made the list. It's been on since last season, actually.
I don't remember the list.
Concilium is mind control. Do you not consider that to be a very high level form of magic? Because
No.
it's one of my favorite forms of magic.
No, I don't consider it to be, because women in short skirts manage to do it a lot quicker than most magical practitioners. So no, I don't consider mind control to be all that big a deal.
But is it not useful? Super useful.
I'm not saying it's not useful, and it's a skill I would expect you to have, but it's
Right.
not something I would put on a set of great tests.
Okay.
I think you're missing my point. My point is that I don't feel they're big enough tests for you to kind of go, this makes you such a great witch. Like, to me, this is like the Wiccan list of great tests.
Ooh. Right. Well, we'll go
Rather
through
than
them.
being.
So telekinesis, moving objects with your mind, it's clearly not good enough for Chris. Concilium, which is mind control, clearly not good enough for Chris. What about the third one? Transmutation. But transmutation in this case for the Seven Wonders apparently means being able to essentially like teleport from one place to the next.
Okay.
Can you pull that one off?
That's a nice big one. I like
Is that a
that
big
one.
one enough for you? Is that one of your three?
That's not one of my three, but that is a big one.
What
Because
about in like
that
100
requires
years' time when we have like transporters like on Star Trek? Will that still be on there, or would that be considered cheating then?
I'd imagine that's then cheating. But
Right.
my thoughts are bending the laws of physics is definitely something that would, in some way, shape, or form, have to come on my list. But that's because that to me is like a nice first step, is in somehow, shape, or form bending the laws of physics. Transportation just takes instantaneous transportation, which is what that is.
Yeah.
Is a fairly big deal.
Okay, well, we found stuff that Chris thinks is a big deal now. So is that on the Wiccan list or is that on Big Boy Witch stuff?
No, it can stay on the Wiccan list, but it's not quite. It could exist on both.
Do you know any Wiccans that can do that?
I don't know any Wiccans that can do that. But then I don't know any Wiccans that could do telekinesis. So that's probably why that's such a big thing.
I know of one Wiccan that continues to write books even though he died many years ago. Is that not a good party trick?
I think that's one of the other ones, isn't it?
Isn't
the life and deathy one of them?
Right. So the next one, number 4, is divination, which is some form of clairvoyance, they say. So divination, the ability to see the future, presumably. Is that not kind of possibly one of the most basic ones on the list?
Definitely.
So that's not good enough for your Supreme?
Not good enough for my Supreme, no.
Okay. What would you consider to be the most complex or difficult form of divination?
Oh, okay. It's an interesting question that I can't believe you've never asked me before, which is strange, don't you think?
Can't remember the last time we did one on divination.
I don't think that's ever come up. We've never said most difficult, have we? We normally just slag off tarot.
And how are we judging this? Because I'm presuming we're not going via most difficult form in terms of tool. So it's not like tarot versus pendulum versus this is actually like the ability to see what are you attempting to see or detail or what. So what would be the most difficult form of divination?
I find for most people, the most difficult tool-based one would be runes or something like that, or bone throwing or something like that. They struggle with the abstract. That is at that level of abstract that they can't access. So for me, my argument there would be one's tool-based, if we're talking tool-based divination, which I feel like divination kind of is tool-based. When we start bending time, etc., then yeah, maybe. I find that with divinationary points, most people struggle with the ones that it can talk back. So, like I say, bones or runes or some kind of like augury or something like that, where the bird, where the method could talk back at you. I think that's where most of them struggle. They're fine having a conversation with themselves, but they're not very good with having a conversation with something else that might know more than they do.
So in terms of the most complicated, because Paul Williams says I Ching.
I like I Ching.
I am going to say, for me, it would be something that is sciencey based. So they say like things like numerology and astrology is very sciencey based, because that means that you would have to create a system that a robot can do. And I don't mean my sort of robot, I mean like a computer robot. So that would mean kind of algorithms and an understanding of the universe that means that you cannot use any form of organic psychic ability, essentially, doesn't it? So that would be like computer models and shit. So I would say that that would probably be the most complicated form of divination, because you wouldn't be allowed to use any magic for it. In terms of the most complicated form of divination, in terms of type of divination, I'd probably go with timelines. Because it's all about potentially seeing the future, but people see changes in the future, and normally they see the course that the current trajectory is. Looking at it from backwards would be the most difficult one, because that would never change. So that would be essentially what the Morai, what the Fates would say, that form in terms of divination, which is not generally covered under divination as far as I'm aware. Because most divination is looking where our trajectory is going and being able to change that. What I would be talking about is looking backwards and seeing all the potential ones that they could have taken, but only the one that they ever actually did take, which opens up a whole kettle of fish. I love I Ching, but it's challenging to a novice who wants McDonald's answers. But Paul, what about the ones that also want McDonald's questions? If you want a McDonald's, if you have a McDonald's question, Chris, do you deserve a McDonald's answer?
You do.
I don't know. So the next one, number 5, is a vitalis vitalum, the act of balancing life forces. In other words, the breath of life. I don't know about the kind of balancing of life forces, because for that implies, oh look, great Auntie Julia's dead, we'll kill someone else and then she'll come back to life type thing. So that kind of feels a bit karmic-y, balance life forces in that sense, which I'm not sure whether that was supposed to be how it worked on the TV show. But from the TV show I remember, it was mainly about bringing people back to life. So let's just go for bringing people back to life. And shall we add an extra caveat onto that? An extra, you have to do it after they've been dead for 2 minutes. How's that? And then you'll just be judged by the brain damage they have. Because they never really managed to do that, I don't think, in the thingy, because they brought that, they basically made like a zombie boy, didn't they, where they sewed a bunch of bits of dead soldiers and stuff together. Or as dead teenage boys or something like that, it was, from what I remember. But then he kind of came back to life, but he had a bit of brain damage. Well, I say quite a lot of brain damage. So that's kind of like Dr. Frankenstein's monster. So what would you class as being good enough, Chris, for your supreme?
I don't know, because the way in which they showed it compared to the actual way in which I would consider that are probably two very different things, like you say. So
there was a lot of kissing involved, from what I remember. Don't they like whisper or kiss of life or kiss of death? I don't know. Would you involve kissing if you was to do some bringing back of the dead, or would you not?
There's often they have a tendency to talk about the kiss of death, kiss of life, don't they? But that doesn't necessarily, I don't think that actually included actual kissing, Liam. I think most of the examples of it in there were breathing life in, which is a concept that we use quite a lot, particularly when we talk about golems or egregores, etc. That kind of first breath of life.
My nan could add cursed breath. If she breathed on you, you'd fucking go like that. That's magic, no?
No, I think that's bad oral hygiene.
Instantaneous magic, Chris.
No, that's bad oral hygiene.
That is bad oral hygiene.
Dentist.
You could take her teeth out. Is that magic? She could take her teeth out, hold them, bite you with them, and then put them back in. Is that not magic?
Maybe.
Like I met someone that could lick their own eyeball, and they had a glass eye, and they take it out. And that man grew up to be Odin.
Sorry, breath of life.
Breath of life.
It's a tricky one because most women would try and argue they've done that already. You know, that kind of whole giving birth thing.
No, because it wasn't dead, was it?
So, no, but it's about bringing forth, or I suppose.
It's like bringing back. Resurgence.
Bringing
they
back.
call it in the show. Resurgence.
Okay, resurgence.
Like Noel Edmonds. Career dies and then he has a comeback, and then his career dies and then he has a comeback, you know? Our American friends might not know who Noel Edmonds is. Just Google Mr. Blobby.
Okay. I don't know. It's tricky because I don't how I feel about necromancy, so not a big fan in general.
Does it give you the feeling of someone walking upon your grave?
A little bit. Oh, geese.
He's down into the other world? Or
no, there was a gaggle just flew overhead. You probably can't hear it though. They're noisy announcers, aren't they, when they're flying? I don't understand. Maybe they were all air hostesses in a previous life. Got to talk shit the whole way.
Right, let's go on to number 6 then, because we're kind of already on that point. So descentsum, which is traveling into the afterlife and coming back. Which I don't know why they go for that and not astral travel in general, but I suppose the American Horror Story universe is quite small, suppose. So they just have the underworld, don't they? And in there, that's kind of a big deal that you can't, it's difficult to get to the underworld and then it's difficult to come back. And there's this whole weird kind of thing where you get stuck in there. And if you're down there for a certain amount of time, then you get stuck there or die or something. I don't really know. Is that a big deal, going to the underworld?
I don't find it, but it is a big thing in a lot of things, though, isn't it? Like in that Sabrina Chilling Adventures, they had that thing as well, where they kind of if you were there too long, something was going to get you. Little birdies.
That's astral projection, wasn't it? The astral project and the little crows.
Yeah. And you just kind of okay. I find it quite a strange concept because there are physical dangers. We talk about the physical dangers of astral travel all the time. But we don't necessarily talk about the concept of something wants you, because even what's that lovely movie series that I can't stand, Insidious.
Oh yeah.
And if you click the button, I will leave, is all I'm saying. So don't you fucking dare.
Don't.
No.
What guys, did he just dare me to do something?
I did not dare you. I told you I will actually leave and not come back.
Will you go to the underworld? Will you go to the underworld live in front of us all? Is that where you're going?
Might.
You're going to the underworld?
You might.
Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere. Just don't. I've had
Well,
a
now you
really
said
hard.
you're not going anywhere. I'll click the button.
Do not click the button.
Do not click the button. Why
Well,
not? Why can't I click the button?
Because you know I can't stand it. So don't click it.
But what about if someone came along and they could stand it? Does that not prove that they're more worthy to lead a coven and be a supreme than you because they can cope with watching the film Insidious without getting freaked out?
I was trying to make a very clear point to you, Liam, and I talked about it, then realised halfway through talking about it that you have a clip that you like to play with that you think is hilarious. And I'm saying, do not do it because I will go because I'm tired. I'm not in the mood for you to be silly.
But this is the Fausty fucking Witches show. What else is there to do other than be silly?
So not necessary if you want to have a serious conversation.
Oh, I don't want to have a serious conversation. No, it's the Fausty Witches show. This is not the platform, Chris.
Okay.
So the last one, number 7, pyrokinesis, control of fire with the mind. So setting things on fire or manipulating fire. From what I remember, it was spontaneous combustion, wasn't it? Where they make candles flicker on and go out and stuff. Is that right?
I think so. Which they nicked, I feel like they nicked that from Practical Magic. That was always one of my favourite bits in Practical Magic. When they had to reverse scenes so that they could look like they were blowing candles in, not out.
Right. On this one, it actually says pyrokinesis, control of fire with the mind. Once you get that last power, you must use it to set yourself on fire. And if you live through it, then you become the supreme.
Yeah.
So basically, they have to set themselves on fire using their mind, but it shouldn't burn them. Is that right?
Essentially.
Oh.
But that's just to prove supreme status, isn't it, I guess? Because at that point you've already said you can transubstantiate, I think is the word that should be used, not the word they used.
They call transmutation, so the ability to disappear. But that would be cheating, surely, if you make fire and then you disappear and then you appear.
The other one which is balancing life forces. That one surely, because the pyrokinesis comes afterwards on their list, means they should be able to avoid death.
We just did some yawning, Chris. It's special. We did that specifically so people don't know that we're psychopaths. Telltale sign is that they don't yawn, do they? Or copy other people's behaviors and such. Let's hope the smart ones picked up on that.
Maybe there aren't any smart ones left. That is the one I worry about. That's the one that keeps me up at night.
So what I'm getting from all of this is that the only one that you think is actually, well, you didn't tell us what you thought about the fire one. So the fire one, the ability to set yourself on fire and survive it. I mean, that guy in that Ninth Gate film, he didn't manage it, did he? And he didn't do half of it with his mind. He used his hand. So, I mean, is that a big level ability for you, Chris? Is that supreme status magic?
I suppose not the pyrokinesis stuff. That's boring, but the surviving torching yourself.
Well, there are a lot of people that go walking on hot coals. Apparently, it's a lot easier than it looks. You just got to do it quick. Is that right?
Something like that.
I've known people that have done hot coal walking, and they say you've just got to keep going. Basically, just keep going, don't stop.
Don't stop.
Kind of like when Somerset levels flood, and you've just got to keep your van or car driving through. If you stop, then you're fucked. If you keep a constant pace and it's fairly low, you'll be all right. So I guess it's a bit like that. But the pyrotechnics, What about Chris? If what they've got to do as a piece of magic is to get a firework, put it in their mouth, and light it, and then if they survive that, they're the next supreme. What about that? Would that factor in your supreme hunt, Chris's hunt for a supreme?
Maybe.
Maybe. Depends on which way the fireworks are pointing, doesn't it?
Yes, definitely. They're having them fired at them. Then yes, maybe. I don't know. Isn't that just the same as if you stand in front of a gun and catch a bullet with your teeth?
Darren Brown did that, didn't he?
I've seen those happen a few times with their magic tricks.
Darren Brown did that. Russian roulette, I think they called it, didn't they? Yeah, it was a show. Okay, so let's take a slight detour along our Fausty way on the highway to hell. Other groups, judging other groups and such. Do you ever, and I presume I know the answer to this, and the answer is yes, but do you ever look at other groups, magical groups and such, and judge the leader of said group?
All the time.
Right. And what makes you judge them? What makes you kind of feel like, what gives you the right, Chris, to judge another people's group?
It's more about the stupid things they say.
Right.
I don't necessarily judge their magical ability.
Right. Okay.
Because it's normally the stupid shit they come out with. Which makes me wonder whether or not they actually know anything.
So you're judging them on what they are, not their magical practice per se. You're judging them by the content of their words, I guess. So not actions, this is words and what they're talking.
It's about their knowledge.
Knowledge level, okay.
Yeah, the main reason for that being that they're leading a group. So if they know nothing, then they're surely leading them down the garden path, proverbially.
Leading them around in circles.
And that bothers me because there aren't all that many public groups nowadays that actually you hope that they're talking about interesting things. I'm really sorry, I'm so tired.
So in terms of the right to judge others, though, in other groups, because stereotypically, I think nowadays we're not supposed to be judgmental in that, are we? Even though I believe it's probably human nature, certainly within my human nature, to judge people. But I think that, is there not really a danger of not judging other groups and such harshly? I mean, let's be fair. Is it the judging or is it the calling out? Because if you're judging, then you can do that in your head and people won't necessarily know unless they're clearly a supreme and can do the mind control and reading thoughts and shit, right?
I think publicly calling people out is what's
in terms of calling people out and publicly saying things. It's a difficult one because it's getting more and more like you're apparently not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to judge others. You're not supposed to call people out. And yet at the same time, is that not the natural defense mechanism against, Nazis and stupidity, such in control of the world and such again, or, that sort of thing? If you've got people that are some dodgy leader somewhere in a cult group and they're taking advantage of people, right? Are you supposed to not call them out? Are you supposed to not say things like that? Where's the line drawn for you?
I think honesty is the best policy, generally speaking, Liam.
So you want to be a mouthy gobshite and you think that's the best thing to do?
No, because this is what always bugs me. Because those are the sorts of people that turn around and say, it's my freedom of speech is being infringed by, and you're kind of like, yes, you have a freedom of speech, but you also have a responsibility to not be a dick. Like the two things are mutually inclusive, not exclusive, inclusive. Like you are entitled to have your own thoughts and be your own person. but that person doesn't therefore naturally have the right to be a dick. Like, I think it's different when we're talking about our platform, because our platform is about exactly that, being a dick, generally speaking. So by being here, you have given us permission to be a dick, like, because that's what the Fausty show is about. But
I should do a disclaimer that can run along the bottom. By tuning
just
into
as
this show, you give us permission.
you are giving permission.
You are agreeing, to, your rights of being in a. This is not a safe zone. What is it they call it? A safe zone?
Yeah.
Safe
This is
zone.
not,
Yeah, this is
it's
not
not
a
a safe
zone.
space. So I think the best way to demonstrate that is going to see a comedian show. So in the UK, because I know for a fact that it's not true in the US. The US are very kind of like the comedian has an act, he will complete the act. Whereas here we have an open call for, what are they called? I can't think what the word is.
We do. What is it? Catcalling, not catcalling.
Not catcalling.
What's the
Catcalling is
thing where
when
you
people
shout
walk
out?
down the street. I can't think of the word. My brain is given up for the week.
What's catcalling then? I thought that was
Catcalling
where
is
you
when you
shout.
wolf whistle at sexy ladies walking down the street. That is catcalling.
Oh yeah. Okay. Right. I get it. Okay.
Well, I can't think of the word. Anyway, my point was, you are heckling. There's the word.
Heckling. That's it.
The
Indiana says.
it's an open. It's yes.
Synchronicity.
No, synchronicity was raised earlier. No, roasting is a different process. Roasting is when you actively ask someone and invite them to come and publicly roast you. That's different. But heckling is there's an open call to that. If you're really not good at telling jokes, then you don't deserve to be on the stage, and you should be able to defend yourself at the very least. And so there is an open call. Like I don't particularly like heckling, but you are expected to be able to defend yourself as a funny person in the UK, on the basis that when you go to see a show like a comedian show, it's not like when you go to see the opera. You can't suddenly start shouting at the Pavarotti on the thing, you fat bastard, you fat bastard. Like, you're not allowed to do that, because
that's why I got banned from the opera train.
Because you've paid to see a show, like see a complete thing. That would be rude. But when you go and see a comedian,
the opera, I shouted subtitles.
But when you go to,
it wasn't English, Chris.
Well, that's what you paid for, Liam. I'm sorry.
They were speaking in some sort of made-up language, and it was very loud.
That's what you paid for, Liam. You paid to listen in Italian or French or whatever it was you were watching.
I went through the fire exit. They prop it open. The opera train gets fucking hot, right? They prop the fire exits open to let the cool air in.
Oh dear. Oh well, Paul is calling me out apparently because he doesn't believe so. He says to me, you have to be open to hecklers. I'm not sure that's true. That's not what I've heard.
It depends on the state. They have states and
possibly. Maybe it's safe in the state of Oklahoma.
In California, they're not allowed to heckle.
So, but it's just kind of one of those. Is you're in that environment. So for me, like when you go to something like that, if you're in the first 5 rows, you have paid to be bullied. Like that is kind. Do you know what I mean? You will get wet or you will get bullied one way or another. That's the price of paying that premium rate to be at the front, is so that you are part of the show potentially. Like that's how it works. So for me, if you're listening or watching this show, you're here to be abused in some way, shape, or form verbally. So I am quite happy to come on here and talk about how shit practice is everywhere. I'm not going to be rude enough to go up to somebody and go, "You're shit. Here's a leaflet to Fausty Witches," so I can publicly say so in front of you. No, what you're talking about is you'd have that try, if you're a responsible individual, is to try and educate people without being a dick.
But you have bitched about people behind their back, haven't you?
When?
Well, you've warned about certain people, like the person that went and did that talk about puppets and voodoo dolls and said that they can never be used for evil purposes and only good things. You've quite categorically said that's bullshit, and yet that was the person's belief who gave it. No?
Yes. What's your point, Liam? You're trying to make me out to be faustier than I actually am.
From my understanding, you said that you wouldn't say something nasty unless it was like on this show or something.
No, I didn't say that. I said I think the format of this show says that I can come on here and be a dick.
But you do be a dick in the real life in general, don't you?
I do be a dick because I think honesty is the best policy. But you don't go out actively to hurt people's feelings, whereas some people actually do.
It's just a byproduct for you, isn't it?
It's a byproduct of, if I insulted you, it wasn't intentional, unless it was intentional. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right. How does one know the difference between when, Chris, you insult someone intentionally versus when it's just a byproduct? Is there some sort of telltale signs?
Probably the shocked look on my face when you look appalled.
So what's that a sign of? Is that a sign of him on purpose, or is that a sign of accidentally?
That's obviously accidental, Liam, you robot. If I if I didn't look appalled, then I totally did it on purpose.
Right.
So, you know.
I thought that it was kind of like the chain punch, Chris, where you continue to punch. I thought if you accidentally mean to do it, you say one thing, but if you do it on purpose, you just continue to batter them over and over again with constant stuff until they have a breakdown and cry.
That's really bad practice. That's really bad practice.
Why is that bad practice?
Well, because ultimately, my goal is never to make you cry. My goal is normally to make you better, making you better by pointing out your faults.
But you've got to break them down in order to build them back up again, haven't you?
No, Liam, that's not how it works.
That's how I work. Sign up for mentoring.
That's how you work.
So you're saying you have
my
to do
process. My process is to encourage.
Break them. You're saying you've got to demolish them in one word, one line. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Because that's not harsher at all, is it?
No. No.
Rather than lots of little bombs that go off, it's just one nuke. One nuclear warhead from Chris's mouth.
You're shit, but we can start again. It's fine. Here you go. Let's go.
Can you remember the last time that you left someone kind of gobsmacked, like you're saying, and shocked and offended? Can you remember the last time that was?
No, most people love when I insult them.
Is that some sort of kinky fetish thing, or
maybe? I don't know.
Or are you mistaken? Do we need to go through that whole emotions that whole emotions test, like what I had to do at school, where you have to memorize the faces and then assign emotions to it? So, like, if they've got water coming out their eyes, that is upset, crying, which therefore means bad, which therefore means I need to stop what I'm doing and think about, is there anything that I could have done that could have been interpreted as like something nasty, negative? If it's like a smiley face where the mouth goes up like that, that's happy.
Okay.
Laughter even, is that what we got to do, Chris? Have we got to recalibrate your emotion reading? Because you're telling me honestly that you can't remember the last time you upset someone or left someone
I can't remember the last time that okay. I know the last times that we upset people collectively on this show or others.
Collectively? It sounds like you're trying to pull me into this.
I am pulling you into this because you quite frequently set me up. As Michelle has put on here, Liam is heckling Chris right now. Earlier on, is because that you believe and hold that mantle with such fucking pride that your job is solely to wind me up.
No, it's not.
So I think your role as wind up comes above your role as mentor in the building of this business, Liam. Fact.
So when's the last time we collectively have left someone mortified and gobsmacked and upset them?
We're not talking about that because you've already got enough airtime out of this thing for me, so I'm not going there. But the last time I personally upset somebody, I can't genuinely remember. I tend to cut people with sarcasm, which normally is like a jellyfish that don't realise they've been stung until they've already walked 10 miles away.
Right, okay. So this doesn't sound very constructive, Chris. This doesn't sound like the sort of time
you didn't ask for constructive.
Right, okay. So let's talk about how you can be nasty in constructive ways. Is that pure sarcasm or not? Because I'm wondering whether all people get sarcasm. I think there's a large proportion of people that don't get sarcasm. Therefore, if you do have someone, oh, here we fucking go. Your book review of The Crooked Path hurts lots of feelings, lol. Yeah. I can't remember what I said, but I know that I agree with everything I did say, and it was my opinion. But I know that opinion isn't shared by other people. But this is the thing, Chris. I'm getting the impression that one's not allowed to share their opinion anymore.
No, you're allowed to share your opinion in a certain format because wokeness has taken over.
Right. So with the wokeness, does the wokeness not mean that you're not allowed to leave anyone upset anymore? Because this is the danger. Because I see a case of, well, what if someone tells you that curing the COVID, all you've got to do is drink a bottle of bleach? I'd say that as obviously dangerous. Obviously, that person that's saying it is probably doing it on purpose to harm others, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the person that says, oh, don't worry about the old chemotherapy, you just need to buy some Gorse homeopathy treatments or something like that. Okay, I see that as potentially the person that's saying that is just a fucking idiot and actually believes what they're saying. But what I'm struggling with is I'm struggling to fully understand how to tackle that. Because from my understanding, you're nowadays supposed to say, oh, that's what you believe in? That's what you believe in, the homeopathy thing? Sure, go ahead. And I kind of feel like I should have the right to say you're a fucking idiot. You know, why the fuck are you doing that? What the fuck are you hoping to achieve with that? But apparently, like, does that not go under freedom of their religion or some shit that they're allowed to spat that crap without anyone else saying
no? Religious freedom is a very specific thing. So you believing something doesn't make religion. We know that the belief and religion are not mutually exclusive. They are different in different contexts. But yes. Love it. Paul says attacking wokeness is the new woke, even more woke than woke. No, it is not.
I don't fully get that, if I'm honest. I don't really fully get that.
So
wokeness. Let's define
wokeness. You don't need to define wokeness. We all know what wokeness is.
Well, I'm wondering what the dictionary definition is. That right? Cambridge Dictionary. A state of being aware, especially of social problems such as racism and inequality. So is the state of being aware, right? So if Paul Williams says attacking wokeness is the new woke, even more than woke, if we are aware that wokeness is bad or that there's a lot of dodgy wokeness about and we are attacking that, then we are the new wokeness, which I mean to think that Paul Williams means that we are in fact woke because we're calling out people that aren't doing wokeness proper, Chris. People, if it is a state of being aware and we are calling out those that think they're aware but are not aware, like the Prince of Bel-Air, then we are in fact the woke ones and they are not in fact the woke ones. You know, like the people that keep going on about soy candles and such as being brilliant, that you need to switch to soy when actually it contributes a lot to like bad shit.
Yeah. Or that vegans love the avocado, even though the amount of water that's required in order to create and the air miles that they actually. I hate the avocado for so many reasons, other than it looking like a black man's testicle.
Well, it looks shit. It tastes shit, and it's sludgy. I don't mind guacamole, actually. To be fair, I don't mind guacamole. Everyone thinks they're enlightened.
They do.
Everyone thinks they're enlightened.
The difference is, Paul, we are.
I don't know. Would I call myself enlightened?
Only because you don't like the word enlightened. Neither do I.
Like Paul Williams, I don't think that you can add me to that category, because I think you should add.
I think you should add him out of principle with Mr. Paul. Add him to the list.
Okay. Enlightened, Cambridge Dictionary again. Showing understanding, acting in a positive way. I don't think this sums me up. And not following old-fashioned or false beliefs. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think I would want to be classed as enlightened, Paul. Now, cynical. You might have got me there, Paul. Cynical.
You're definitely coloured cynical.
Mean?
Oh.
Let's see. If enlightened, cynical.
I don't know if I can be classed as new woke, because
believing that people are
just hated wokeness from the beginning.
Are not sincere. I think if I could class myself as any one of them, and I don't think I fall perfectly into any of them, I would definitely think I'm cynical rather than enlightened, Paul. So there you go. You can have one person that thinks that they're not enlightened. What were you saying, Mr. Cress, the faustiest of them all? Were you going to say something feisty, nasty, and upset someone? Oh, cyclical.
Oh, cyclical. Sorry, we both read that as cynical. How bad's that?
I did as well. Cyclical.
Yeah.
So it's cyclical. Everyone thinks they're cyclical.
It goes round and round in circles. Everyone's wrong, and then they're all suddenly right.
Well, I suppose that Paul Williams, coming from like a clinical psychologist background, that makes sense, because don't they like believe one thing 1 minute and have to do something one way and then throw it all out? It's like education, isn't it? 1 minute is all about exams, the next minute is all about coursework, and then we go back to exams, and then we go back to coursework. Yeah. And everything's cyclical, like fashion, Chris. You know a lot about fashion.
However, I am pretty sure there is plenty. I'm sure there's plenty that Paul could say about the fact that we both read that as cynical.
Yeah, we evolve. Mr. Williams said we evolve.
No, I'm currently devolving. I'm done with the evolving.
We evolve. Evolving is painful, isn't it? Is evolving painful? I think that evolving is painful. I think it's supposed to be, isn't it?
Paul's just swore at me. He said Freudian. That's swearing as far as I'm considered.
Freudian slip. Right, we've got 1 minute left. Is there anything else you want to discuss? I think we've pretty much shat all over the seven wonders.
We definitely did.
But if you would like to change and change in a painful way, you can contact Paul Williams on 800 Fuck My Life. We should get to the show.
I'm sure it would be. I'm sure it would be painful.
Like they have, you know, when you have like traumatic things that go on TV shows, and it comes up like after. If you have been affected by any of the things, any of the topics come up in this show, you can call this number and talk to someone now. You know, it's always like if they've had like on Coronation Street a suicide or something like that. It's like, if you've been affected by the issues in this edition of the Fausty Witches show, phone Paul Williams on 0800. It fucking hurts. There we go.
I think
In-house, like, what would they call it? Therapist. Kind of like we'll have. He might be a bit too professional, but I like kind of like the one that they had on the Jeremy Kyle show. You know, where he's kind of like he's there to tick a box, but Jeremy Kyle's still allowed to completely destroy people and upset them. But like, as long as the psychotherapist is there, it checks a box to say that their welfare is okay. And you know, they get their 250 quid for being on the show, and then they get support afterwards, after care, isn't it? Where he basically phones up and says, "Oh, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, that's a shame. Your life's still shit." Yeah, I know. You should talk to someone about that. Same time next week, next session. We need a Paul Williams to do that.
No.
Post-traumatic YouTube disorder. Is that a thing? I feel like it should be a thing. And if it's not a thing currently, you know, in another 5 or so years, it will be.
And you know who will all be there? All those woke people.
All those woke people. I am a people. Paul Williams is calling things disorders, and disorder is has negative implications. Like these crazy people are somehow not supposed to be crazy, Paul. If it's disordered, I know when my desk is disordered, it's pretty fucked up and not good, right? It shouldn't be like that. It should be nicely tidied. All the paperwork should be in the paperwork tray. All the pens need to be lined up.
It should all be in boxes, Liam. Yeah.
Everything needs to be fine. Disordered is chaos. And I'm wondering that if Paul Williams is talking about post-traumatic YouTube disorder, that he's saying all these disordered people. Oh, here we go. Post-traumatic YouTube enlightenment. Post-traumatic YouTube enlightenment. Paul, I think we do that well. Post-traumatic means that it was traumatic and it was something that came from YouTube. Post-traumatic YouTube enlightenment, I think, is a therapy me and Chris offer in the fact that we say some stuff. It strikes a chord with people. They get most upset, but on careful reflection, they think, actually, I've learned something. I've exposed myself to the fact that Reiki is bullshit. And I'm all better because of it. Anyway, we've been the Fausty Witches. And again, if you are struggling with any of the issues raised, you can contact Paul Williams. You can find him on the Facebook. There's his little face there. Take a note of his face. Go through every profile that comes up when you type Paul Williams in Facebook and select. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to talk through your problems. Bye, everyone.